Hi, welcome to Pages with Sidra here. I bring you the novels behind your favorite manga, Manhwa, and Manhua, whether by translating or simply reading them for you. Let's dive into the stories that inspire the comics we all love. I got a cheat ability in a different world, and become extraordinary even in the real world. Volume 15. Chapter 3 Clash. Part 1. Knight and the others were transported to a mysterious world, where they walked through a devastated world while dealing with monsters that attacked them one by one. They also accumulated more and more green power in their bodies from the mysterious shards they acquired each time they defeated a monster. Finally, as they continued on without knowing what this power was, a being appeared in front of them that had a particularly strong presence among the monsters they had dealt with so far. It was a humanoid creature, more than 20 meters long. The human face had no eyes or nose, and its entire body was covered with a thick layer of gray skin. Mechanical-like objects protruded from its limbs in places, and several tentacles extended from its back. For Knight and the others, this was the first time they had seen such a creature. It was definitely different from the monsters they had fought before. Facing such a monster, Knight and the others were ready to fight. Then, woof! The tentacles on the creature's back approached Knight and the others at a tremendous speed. Knight immediately jumped back, holding Akatsuki in his mouth, and Seal also dodged them. However, the tentacles changed their trajectory midair and continued to chase Knight and the others. In response to the tentacles, Seal plunged into the tentacles, his entire body covered in blue flames. Then, burning off the tentacles one by one, he charged at the main body of the humanoid creature. The humanoid creature caught Seal's powerful blow with its machine-like arms. The creature swung its arm carelessly, and Seal was blown away. The Knight, who had placed Akatsuki in a safe zone, immediately caught Seal and landed with him. Woof. As if to comfort the depressed Seal, Knight attacked the monster this time. At that moment, the tentacles poured down like rain again. Woof. Woof. However, while brilliantly dodging his attacks, Knight dived into the monster's chest and slashed at its torso with his sharp claws. Woof. Suddenly, the monster let out a deafening scream. The face was flat, but at that moment, the area around the mouth seemed to be torn open, and what looked like a mouth appeared from inside. The scream coming from the mouth was so terrifying that the ruins scattered around the area were blown away, and the sand that had filled the surrounding area rose up like a storm. Not only that, but after hearing the screams, Knight and Seal were suddenly struck by a feeling of power draining from their bodies. The monster's screams had the effect of draining the power of those who heard them. The creature approached Knight and the others, who were unable to move at full speed, flailing its arms and legs. Woof. The creature approaching with an eerie voice was terrifying even to Knight and the others. Although they tried desperately to escape, they were still unable to move due to the scream. Woof. Akatsuki activated his sanctuary skill, and the special anomalies on Knight and the others' bodies were removed. In the nick of time, Knight and the others were able to move, and the creature dodged the attack and attacked as they passed each other. Woof. Kaira. The creature, whose back tentacles were slashed by Knight and whose feet were pierced by Seal, screamed again. However, since Akatsuki's sanctuary was still in effect, Knight and the others were unaffected. Woof. To their surprise, the wounds they had inflicted began to heal. While they were surprised, the monster blindly swung its arm. Even though it only swung its arm, the surrounding terrain changed with a single blow, making it impossible to get very close. Besides, any half-hearted attack would be quickly recovered. However, with the size of Knight and the others' bodies, it would be difficult to inflict any fatal damage to the monster. Akatsuki could grow larger, but he did not have the strength to block the monster's attack, nor did he have the offensive skills to overwhelm it. While Knight and the others were struggling with the situation, he suddenly felt a strange sensation in his own body. The discomfort was not unpleasant, however. Knight could not verbalize the situation, but it seemed to be a reaction to the strange green light his body had absorbed in this mysterious world and something that lay dormant within him. At some point, Knight surrendered to this physical discomfort. Then, Fugu. Suddenly, Knight's body began to glow. The light grew stronger and stronger until it became so large that it swallowed the monster in front of it. And then, whiff! As the light faded, what appeared from within was Knight, who had awakened the Night God Wolf's divine authority skill, which had once been activated during the battle with the Dragoneer aliens. Originally, the environment had to be at night to activate this skill. However, in this mysterious world, the color of the sky was fundamentally different, and it was doubtful that the concepts of day and night even existed. Most importantly, Night had awakened in this way, that there was a difference from the time of the battle with the Dragoneer aliens. The green light that had been absorbed by Night's body shimmered and rose from his body. Seal and Akatsuki were surprised by the sudden change, but it was Night himself who was most astonished. Whoa woof! Night had awakened during the battle with the Dragoneer aliens, but this was the first time he recognized this state of being. He had heard about the giant transformation, but he had no memory of it, so he was skeptical about it. Anyway, after awakening in this way, Night grew enormously, overpowering even the monster in front of him. Kaikei. The monster was also overwhelmed by the huge Night that suddenly appeared. At the same time, however, it turned its attention to the green light emanating from Night's body and attacked, with even more ferocity than before. Ah! A continuous attack with all of its tentacles in both arms and legs. All of them smashed into Night's body. But, whiff! The green light acted like a shield, preventing all of these attacks. As a result, there was not a single scratch on Night's body. Ah! The monster was still angry and continued to attack, but the result remained the same. And then, whoa off! Exclamation. As Night howled, a tremendous shock wave swept through the entire mysterious world. The creature that was hit by the shockwave at close range was instantly blown away, and its body was unable to withstand the force and was shredded into pieces. Ah! The monster screamed. However, no matter how much it screamed, Night's howl did not stop, and more importantly, the monster was unable to recover, and just like the other monsters, it crumbled and disappeared like sand. After defeating the monster that suddenly appeared, Night's body glowed again, and he returned to his original size. Woof! In the end, Night could not understand why he suddenly grew to a giant size, but he breathed a sigh of relief that he had defeated the monster. Hippie. Woof! In response to Seal's voice, a mysterious piece that he had seen before appeared from where the creature had just disappeared. However, the piece was larger than any they had seen before, and Night and the others were overwhelmed. Whiff. Fugu. Pi. Without knowing what this piece was, they watched it for a moment, and then it broke into 3 pieces and was absorbed by Night and the others, just as it had been before. The next moment. Woof. Unlike before, the memories of the defeated monster began to flow into Night and the others' brains. And now, moving on to part 2 of this chapter. The story is just getting more exciting, so let's dive right in and see where it takes us. After defeating Whips, Iris-san led us to Shu's location. Originally, as Iris-san had visited Shu and his group space once, she should have been able to use her divine authority to move there instantly. However, there seemed to be some divine power floating in Shu and his group space, which interfered with the instant transfer to their base. However, once we were close to their base, we continued to move as fast as we could and finally arrived at the place where their base was located. It was a huge valley that felt strangely oppressive. Iris-san, what is this place? This is the Dragon Valley. Dragon Valley? I had heard this name before. It was the name of the place where the false dragon was when I was transported to the past. As the name implies, there are countless dragons flying above the valley, and one of them noticed us and attacked us. I won't let you. However, when Mako immediately activated the spirit chain, the dragon was tied up as it was and then fell to the bottom of the valley as its body was further pierced by the chain. Observing the scene, Iris-san continued. As you can see, a land inhabited by countless dragon species, its danger level rivals that of the Great Devil's Nest. I see. Well, from Yuya-kun, who lives in the Great Devil's Nest, it might not make much difference. Not at all. I am well aware of the dangers of the Great Devil's Nest. I didn't know it was comparable to such a place. It means that Shu is not the only one we have to deal with. I see, but if it comes to a battle with Shu, the dragon shouldn't be able to get close due to the presence of the power emanating from Shu and us. For the time being, I was relieved to know that I only had to focus on Shu in the battle. If we had to deal with dragons, we would not have enough power to fight them. Well then, let's go. Oops, that won't be necessary. Exclamation. The moment we were about to enter the Dragon Valley. You-kan, avoid it. Exclamation. I jumped back after hearing Ira-san's words. Suddenly, the sound of stringed instruments rang out. I was surprised by the beautiful sound, and then the place where I was standing was shattered by something invisible. Why? As I was startled by the sight, 2 figures appeared from the valley. Are you finally ready to be captured? You will not escape this time. A bard-like man with a lyre in his hand and a man with antlers appeared. Tone. Sierras. It seems you have realized that it is useless to run. Ira-san smiled triumphantly at the bard Tone, who said this in a somewhat mocking manner. Not at all. We are here to defeat you. You're here to defeat us? Even though you've been beaten so many times, you still don't know the difference in power between us. The man with the antler Sierras also scoffed at Ira-san's words. Sure, I won't be able to win on my own, but this time I have a reassuring companion. When Ira-san said this, Tone and Sierra's eyes turned to us. HMPH, look who you brought with you. I didn't expect you to bring people who aren't even holy. Don't tell me you're going to let that little brat there and the maid fight. Naya. Unhappy that she was not counted as a fighting force herself, Stella raised her voice in protest, but Sierras and Tone ignored her. You can think whatever you want. In any case, you will be defeated here. Just try it. Sierras shouted and then came straight at us. Mako. Yes. Spirit chain. What? Then, as if to catch the charging Sierras, countless chains appeared from the ground and wrapped around his body. Vibes. You are using a strange power sound supremacy. When Tone struck his lyre again, the chains were shattered by an invisible blow. Why? Tone, can't you break them more carefully? If you don't like pain, don't get caught. I let my guard down earlier. Next time I'll finish them off. A spirit chain. In response to Sierra's renewed attack, Mako made the chain appear once again. Then a rainbow glow divine power gathered between Sierra's horns. You're in my way, divine horn piercing. And the gathered divine power sliced through all the attacking spirit chains. Take this. Har. Ma. However, when Ira-san slashed at him, Sierras flipped his horns and intercepted Ira-san's sword. HMPH, another fake divine authority? Do you think you can stop me with that kind of power? I don't know, but I'm not alone. Ha. Waga. While Ira-san was intercepting Sierras, I quickly approached and slashed at his body with my omnious sword. However, Sierras immediately retreated, and no great damage was done. You fully wounded this body that is of a god. Apparently, that weapon has a strange power. So what? No matter how powerful that weapon is, it cannot defeat us. The moment Sierras said that, the wounds I had created were instantly healed. After all, it seemed that only an attack using divine authority or power of existence can defeat them. Then Tone played his lyre. At that moment, countless god soldiers appeared behind Tone and the others. I'll let you see for yourself how foolish it is to defy God. They are coming. The moment Ira-san shouted that, the god soldiers and the invisible attack flew in at the same time. However, Tone's invisible attack seemed to be flying a mass of magic power, and it was possible to dodge it if you were aware of the magic power. However, the swarm of god soldiers blocked our actions. Master, I will take care of the god soldiers. I'm counting on you. Mako, who couldn't use divine authority, took on the task of dealing with the god soldiers. Spirit chain, and then spirit doll. As usual, Mako performed a new technique, making a chain of spiritual power appear. Then, the spiritual power began to rise from the ground, and gradually took on a human form. This soldier-like being made of spiritual power attacked the god soldier as soon as it appeared. This technique is... I saw the god soldier's existence and tried to copy it. Obviously, this technique was based on the god soldier. I wonder how it is possible to create a new technique so easily. Well, I guess it was only possible because Mako is more familiar with spiritual power than I am. Anyway, thanks to Mako, we no longer had to worry about the god soldiers, and we decided to deal with Tone and Sierras again. Iris-san, I'll take care of Tone. All right. You really took me for a ride, didn't you? Tone's forehead turned a shade of blue when I said I'd take him on. You still think you can beat us? Yeah, that's right. Puh. Sierras caught Iris-san's slash with his horns. Ridiculous, you didn't have this much power before. Unfortunately, I'm also growing up. What a stupid thing to say. Divine horn piercing. Higher. Iris-san unleashes a fierce sword strike. It's not nice to look away from me. Exclamation. Ha. While I was distracted by Iris-san's fight, I received invisible attacks from Tone. However, while dodging them with a backstep, I took out the absolute spear from my item box and threw it at Tone. Another new weapon. Tone tried to dodge the absolute spear, but it continued to chase him. TCH, it's disturbing that it's chasing me. Sounds supremacy. However, Tone hit the absolute spear with an invisible attack and bounced it back. However, I had already prepared for my next attack. Formless bow. Gah. Just like with whips, I took out my formless bow and fired an arrow. Tone's attacks were also invisible, but the other side had magic power, its like substance. However, this formless bow was actually invisible. Since it was not a massive magic power, it was impossible to detect and avoid. Guryu. Unfortunately, since it was impossible to use the power of existence to avoid detection, Tone's wounds healed quickly. Still, a momentary distraction was enough. That is... Stellar. Knife. Warcat. Stiller, who had been out of sight, appeared behind Tone. Fashar. Then she kicked into the sky, accelerating instantly and piercing through him. Guara. With a hole in his stomach, Tone fell to his knees. War Tone. Don't you dare look away. Ka. Iris-san's side was also in the final stages of the battle. In the midst of all this, Tone put his hand on his stomach, desperately trying to heal his wounds. But... WY. Why won't the wound heal? Naya Tilda. Stellar, the one who inflicted the damage, was grooming herself in a relaxed manner. Tone's wounds did not heal at all due to the attack from Stellar's power of existence. Finally, he reached his limit and collapsed to the ground. How ridiculous we are, God. Tone. This is also the end. Sears got impatient because of Tone's fall, and Iris-san held her sword at the top of her head. Sears turned his horns to Iris. It's done, you say? How can I, the true God, be defeated by you, the false one? Concentrating his massive divine power into his horns, Sears charged at Iris-san, aiming to pierce her. Baside. Exclamation. Iris-san unleashed an idle strike, cutting off all of Sears' divine power as it was. After all, Iris-san has reached that state of being, hasn't she? I felt this way when I saw Iris-san's swordsmanship again, but I didn't think it was particularly strange. I knew that Iris-san, who had been practicing with the sword up to that point, would get there eventually. Sears, who had been cut in half along with his divine power, widened his eyes. I am possible to cut a god. And then, just like that, he crumbled like sand and disappeared. As Tone and Sears fell, the god's soldiers that had appeared around them also disappeared as if they were crumbling. Is it over? For now, yes. Thank you for taking care of the god's soldiers. That's right. Because Mako-chan was there, I was able to concentrate on the battle against Sears. Thank you. That's nothing at all. I'm a maid, and my job is to help my master. I did what I had to do. After saying that, Mako bowed her head respectfully. What can I say? It's still strange to think that I acquired this knowledge in the underworld. Well, if it's okay with her, there's nothing I can say about it. More importantly, Iris-san, that attack was... It's a technique I learned in my last fight with Sears and the others. It's not perfect yet. Iris-san laughed bitterly, but from my perspective, I could only say that it was truly amazing. Thanks to Zenvis-san, I was able to achieve the idol strike, but Iris-san achieved it all by herself. And even though she has not yet grasped the feeling, she was not out of breath, unlike the first time I released the idol strike. I guess it's because she's been wielding the sword for so many years. Well then, shall we finally go to their base? Yes. We were about to enter the depths of the Dragon Valley once again, and it was at this moment. I never thought I'd see this coming. Why? Suddenly, an enormous pressure hit us. This feeling is similar to when I was hit by Yin's power of existence. I was surprised at how suffocating it was, as if the world itself was being forced upon me. When I looked at the true nature of the pressure, I saw a man standing in the sky above us. Iris-san turned his sharp gaze to the man who, at first glance, appeared to be dressed like a samurai. Shu. Finally, Shu Zakuran appeared in front of us. And now moving on to part 3 of this chapter, The story is just getting more exciting, so let's dive right in and see where it takes us. Around the time you met Shu, something unusual happened to the body of the woman who was in the coffin. The woman groaned in agony with sweat on her forehead. This voice was noticed by Lexia, who had come to check on the woman. Hey Luna. What's wrong? She looks like she's in a lot of pain. What? Luna checked her immediately and put her hand on the woman's forehead. She has a terrible fever. The woman had a fever, and her temperature had risen considerably. After hearing Luna's words, Lexia involuntarily panicked. Oh no. What shall we do? Calm down, but healing magic doesn't work on sick people. If this were an injury, it could be treated with healing magic. However, the only way to treat an illness was with medicine. However, the woman was currently unconscious and could not be given the medicine. Still, they could not just leave her like that, and as they thought about what to do, Lexia had an idea. That's right. Let's ask Salmer to take her somewhere cold. Are you an idiot? Why? She has such a fever she needs to be cooled down. That's true, but something's wrong. Then what do you want me to do? That's... In her haste, Lexia had said something outrageous, but she didn't realize it. Then Yudi came in. She was holding a bucket of water and a towel. Breng, I brought wet towels. Lexia and Luna were stunned. Lexia immediately opens her mouth in admiration. Well done, Yudi. In fact, why can't you think of something so simple? Hey, even Luna didn't think of this. The two started to argue again. By the way, Lexia was not the type to catch a cold very often, and Luna had been doing her job regardless of her health, so both of them had almost no experience in taking care of sick people. In response, Yudi placed a towel on the struggling woman's forehead, even though the two of them were arguing. Yudi herself had received care from Archer every time she fell ill, so she was able to take care of her in this way. Almer, who had come to see how the three of them were doing, muttered in dismay. Good grief, what are you going to do? Then he gently poured cold air into the room with magic and left. And Mum. Huh. Oh, Luna. Wasn't there a voice just now? Lexia, who quickly sensed the presence of an awakening woman, called to Luna. Then, the next moment. Oh, look, she's awake. I know, so don't make a fuss. The woman opened her eyes softly. Lexia called the woman. Are you okay? Can you hear my voice? But the woman still had a blank expression on her face and looked somewhat absent-minded. As Lexia and the others looked at each other, they heard the sound of her stomach growling. Lexia? It's not me. Isn't that from you, Luna? Of course not, but... Attention. I heard it from this woman. Yudi's words calmed them both. Lexia looked at the woman again, and a worried look appeared on her face. Well, if you think about it, she was in that coffin the whole time. No wonder she's hungry. Okay, I've decided. What have you decided? Luna asked Lexia, feeling a little uncomfortable. Then Lexia puffed out her chest as if to say, What are you asking me? Nothing to worry about, just cook for this girl. By the way, who will cook for her? Me, of course. Rejected. Why? When Lexia was quickly rejected, she immediately snapped back. However, Luna continued to be undaunted by Lexia. You don't know anything about your own cooking, do you? Of course I do. If you knew, you wouldn't be talking about cooking. What do you mean? I have the ability to cook. What's the problem? Your cooking is life-threatening. Huh? What are you talking about? How can cooking be life-threatening? That dish almost killed me, you know. Yes, Lexia was not only dangerous in her cooking, but the food she produced also had a terrible taste. Normally, if you tasted the food, you would be able to tell whether it was good or not. However, Lexia did not feel anything special when she tasted her own cooking, so it was meaningless for her to taste it. For this reason, Luna wanted to prevent Lexia from cooking at all costs. Bye, Sid. Geez, you're so annoying. If you're so worried, why don't you cook for her, Luna? I'll cook no matter what you say. Hey, Lexia said, quickly walking into the kitchen. The next moment, the woman's stomach rumbled again. But even under such circumstances, the woman's consciousness showed no signs of awakening, and she still had a blank expression on her face. Seeing such a woman, Luna let out a sigh. It can't be helped. Yudi, I'm sorry, but can you take care of this woman for me? Roger. After asking Yuri to take care of the woman, Luna immediately went to the kitchen. At that moment, a knife flew out as if it was waiting for Luna. Exclamation. Geez, why did the knife slip and you came too, Luna? Yes, after what I just saw, I couldn't leave you alone anymore. It was dangerous to cook near Lexia, but it was even scarier to leave her like this. If something went wrong, the kitchen might explode or something like that. Most importantly, even without such a massive accident, Yulia's house would be damaged. To prevent this, Luna had to stay close to Lexia as her supervisor. Most importantly, she could not let the hungry woman eat Lexia's food, which was a highly lethal substance. So the dangerous cooking began, and immediately, a disturbing voice came from next to Luna. I still don't think it's stimulating enough. Let's put all that bright red powder in there. It was scary to look at her, but for now, Luna concentrated on cooking her own food. Knives and pans flew at her as if she had forgotten them, but each time, Luna threw out her strings and saved the wall from further damage. Thank you, Luna. It's disturbing to see frying pans flying through the air. I know. Luna had no more time to complain to Lexia. While Luna's cooking went well, Lexia's dish was ready one step ahead of hers. It's done. Lexia's dish, just like the previous one, looked very tasty. But the actual taste could not be determined without tasting it. Luna's cooking was almost finished. It's ready too, but yours is. Let's feed her right away. Hey. And before Luna could stop her, Lexia grabbed her own food and went straight to the woman. I brought it. Worried. Is it okay? As Yudi looked at Lexia with an unusually worried expression on her face, Lexia proudly held out her chest. I'm fine, of course. If she eats my cooking, she will recover in no time. Negative. I'm not worried about that. Although she worries about the women, Yudi's biggest concern was how Lexia's cooking would turn out. But despite Yudi's concerns, Lexia spooned up the finished stew-like dish and gently tried to feed it to the woman. Here you go. The woman's nose moved slightly, and the frail woman reflexively took a mouthful of Lexia's dish. Then, exclamation, tremble. Hey, what's wrong with her? Bullseye. I knew it. Then the woman started foaming at the mouth and widened her eyes. Just as Yudi had feared, Lexia's cooking was terrible. The woman was foaming at the mouth because she had tasted such a dish. However, Lexia, who did not think her cooking was a chores in the least, held out a spoon to feed the woman more food. I knew you were hungry and sick. Then eat more. The woman still had a blank expression on her face, but her body was already rejecting the food, and she shivered slightly, breaking into a cold sweat. Just then, Luna came over as well. Hey, you idiot. Stop it. Idiot, you say. What's the matter? Luna quickly gave the woman a drink of water she had brought with her, ignoring Lexia's anger at being called an idiot. At that moment, even though the woman had not yet woken up, she swallowed the water as if she was going to devour it. Seeing her like that, Luna took a deep breath. Thank goodness she seems to have survived. What do you mean? You don't need to know. More importantly, try this. This time, Luna took a spoonful of the food she had prepared and held it out to the woman, who put her mouth to the spoon with a blank expression on her face. Seeing this, Lexia was surprised. Huh? Has she recovered enough to eat by herself? I knew my cooking was. That's not true, don't worry. Why not? The woman continued to eat while the two of them exchanged their usual banter. And eventually, a light came into the woman's eyes. Agam. And so the woman finally regained consciousness. Thank you for watching Pages with Sidra. I hope you enjoyed this chapter of I Got a Cheat ability in a different world, and became extraordinary even in the real world. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more volumes and novels. Let's keep exploring these amazing stories together. See you in the next one.